Welcome to Art Ed Radio, the podcast for art teachers. This show is produced by the Art of Education, and I'm your host, Tim Bogan. Today's episode will be all about professional growth, what it looks like when art teachers go back for that master's degree when they become students again. Now, at the Art of Education University, the Master of Arts in Art Education program was built for art teachers who want to deepen their practice and expand their creativity and strengthen their voice as educators. And in this episode, we're going to hear directly from two graduates about their experiences earning that degree, the different timelines they took, and how their experiences continue to shape their teaching. Our first guest will be Riki Johnson Atkins, a high school teacher in Arlington, Texas. Riki took a longer path through the program, balancing her coursework with the demands of teaching ceramics and life outside of the classroom. Her story is one of persistence and one of transformation. You know, how the Masters of Arts in Art Education became this kind of slow burning influence that changed her classroom over time and gave her a deeper understanding of her students and her teaching. We'll also hear from Mary Donlon, who teaches in Illinois. Mary completed her degree on a shorter timeline. She moved quickly through the program while teaching her kindergarten through 8th grade students. And her perspective shows us how immediately all of the lessons, the ideas, the strategies from the master's degree can be applied to the classroom. And I think together, these two journeys illustrate the flexibility and the power of AOEU's master's program for teachers, no matter what timeline you have as you move through the program or what stage of your career that you're in, you're going to be able to find something for you. So let's start with our conversation with Riki. Riki, welcome to the podcast. To begin, can you give us just a quick introduction? You can tell us who you are, where you teach, anything else that you want to share?
Okay, cool. Well, my name's Riki Johnson Atkins. They call me Miss Atkins.
I love it. That's a great name.
I'm a high school teacher in Arlington, Texas. I teach Art 1. I teach all the ceramics classes and AP 3D portfolio.
Oh, nice. So that is keeping you busy, I'm sure.
Yes, for
All
sure,
right.
for sure.
Can you tell us about your master's degree experience? And I'd love to know about when you started, just kind of the path you took to get there, and maybe some of the things that you learned along the way.
Well, I start I started in 2020, but really I started teaching in 2018 and
Hmm.
I started kind of searching and looking for help because I had never taught before. And so I found the art of education. And then I noticed that around 2018, that's when the university kind of began their program.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's when I started thinking, master's degree is kind of a good idea. And when I was kind of researching it, I started thinking, there's a difference between being an artist and being in the industry and doing things as versus going to teaching, like teaching someone.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
I felt like it was a huge, change in what I needed. And so I was noticing they had a degree for art education. And so that's when I was like, okay. And then 2020 shutdown hit, and at that same time, our AOEU waived their application fee. I was like, well, there's no time like the present, So that's kind of when it started. And I really just kind of had started when I'm moving from there. And I was thinking, I wanted to really learn about lesson planning, classroom management.
Mm,
Um, I just I'd gone through a teacher's alternative certification program,
okay.
and it was a great program, but it just wasn't an electives program. I needed something
Oh,
more
yeah.
tailored to being an art teacher.
Yeah,
And
that
so
makes
that's
sense.
where I noticed, the master's degree for art education was really more crafted to the art room and the experience the art teacher really has.
Okay, that's cool. That's good to hear because I mean I think that's always been a goal, to craft it to the art teacher experience. So
Mm.
yeah, it's very cool to hear that that has worked for him. Now let me ask you, like when you were first looking, when you first started thinking about doing the master's degree, did
Mhm.
you always plan to stretch it out over a longer timeline, like do it over a few years, or was that just kind of the way it unfolded?
I guess both because I'd love to say I really was like, yeah, let's get things going, done real fast, but I'm a mom, I'm a wife, and I'm a working teacher, and so I
Mm.
needed the flexibility.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I even tried. I was like, maybe I could double up on this class or do this. And even in the summer, I was just like, no, there's no way. I have too much going on. I'm still taking my kids to do X, Y, and Z in the summers or whatever the case, or working on my classroom. So
Yeah.
or implementing the things I learned, whatever. So it worked out perfectly for me to be able to um, have the flexibility to do it a little bit longer. I was also a pay as you go.
Oh, okay.
So, I needed to budget. My husband and I needed to really budget our finances to make sure I could pay for the next class or
Yep.
what have
Yep.
you.
No, I know exactly where you're coming from there. So,
Hmm.
let me ask you though, as it did take you a little bit longer, like what were some of the benefits that came with taking a slower, like a more deliberate path to getting your master's degree?
Well, other than the tuition portion, the lessons and approaches that I learned, I really could just immediately implement them. I could test
Yeah.
them in real time. So it was great. So, one that I loved was the classroom management course. At the time, I was teaching in a K through 12 school, private school. I was the art teacher for everybody. But the classroom management for different age groups was different. So I needed
Right.
to be able to tailor that. And so that taking that classroom management course and then taking a quick break and implementing those things and seeing what worked. I made charts. I had helper boards, things like that. Those classroom management approaches for the art room specifically, I was able to make relevant to each age group. So it gave me that time to do that. I even had when I did taught the kindergarten classes, I had to go to them, so I had an art cart, and so my
Mhm.
elementary um, table helper chart, I was able to make one specific to just kindergarten that was a little bit more simple, and it was attached to my cart, and so they knew exactly how to work it, and so it was great. Um,
Yeah, I love
you know,
that. I love
yeah,
hearing about that.
yeah. So I mean, it was great. It did help me to think about how to make labels for my tables and
Hmm.
clean up and supply grabbing, all those things, and even games for like first days for my older students. Like, where can you find that? Where would you put the pencils?
Yes.
Things like that. Or and in even with the matrices that the designing your art curriculum course that helped me plan out my year per grade level, and I was able to really like hone
Yeah.
in and be able to do that. And then once I've kind of started that transition, when I'm ready, take the next class.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and it really even helped with my transition to private school to public school, and teaching my high school students. And I came in ready. Just
Yeah,
like,
I love hearing that. That's
yeah.
awesome. And I think it's great because both of those classes just do so much as far as little things that you might not think about, especially if you haven't
Right.
been in the art room for a long time. Like, hey, have you thought about this process? Have you thought about this idea? And it forces you to kind of, go through everything that's happening in your classroom. And like
Yes.
you said, there's so many benefits to
Yeah, I didn't
doing
feel so
that.
lost.
Yeah. Okay, so another question. As you were kind of going through all of these courses, all of these things that you're doing, did you ever feel discouraged? Were you ever unsure about actually getting to the finish line, actually earning that degree? And I guess a second part of that, like as you're feeling that, like what were the kinds of things that kept you going or kept you moving forward?
Okay, so two main things I deal with, two main struggles I deal with on a daily basis is I'm diagnosed with ADHD.
Hmm.
So I know that's kind of a personal issue, but it academically it was a challenge.
For sure.
I was having to deal with APA writing, and I have no idea why my undergrad I never used it, but I had no
Mhm.
idea what was going on, and so um, it took a lot of um, reorganizing my brain and asking lots of questions and
Yeah.
getting things wrong and
Hmm.
then having to come back and go, okay, so why was that wrong?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but the thing that really kind of helped me is the structure of the classes. It's
Okay.
completely formatted. Wednesdays you have something due, Fridays you have something due, Sundays you have something due. So it kept me on a
Hmm.
pace. So my ADHD brain goes, oh wait, nope. I gotta have my Wednesday stuff done. I had to have
Yeah.
my hot Friday stuff done. And so it's that dopamine quick needs to make sure it gets done so that I can move on with life kind of feeling.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
really kept me on track. It was great. The professors were super helpful. They were if I was just like I'm upset, I don't understand, I don't know, they were quick to go, well, let's meet. Let's,
Yeah.
you like a Zoom? You want a phone call? What do you need? And so they
Yeah.
were super helpful. They kept me reassured that I could finish it.
Very cool.
The most discouraging thing for me during whole the whole story of going through the school was that I failed my initial capstone readiness exam. And it was
Oh.
literally because of APA formatting
Oh,
issues.
wow. Yeah.
Wasn't what I wrote. It wasn't all the things. It was literally little mistakes, little mishaps that I
Hmm.
just kept missing. And so I was so discouraged. But I had friends and family that helped push me on, but once I fixed the issues, once I was able to kind of get off my soap story and be like, I can't believe it. I fixed the issues and passed. And it was like, oh, okay. So then that was kind of there. Um,
Mhm.
Also the timeline, I think. The fact that I had a 5-year window, it's the same thing with having the Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. There's a
Yeah.
schedule. I
Yeah.
have I have a timeline, so it must be done by this time. So it did help me push to finish.
Yeah, that pressure can be helpful sometimes. I'm sure it's stressful,
Yes.
but I know it can be helpful. So,
Yes.
and then I guess just one last question for you. I love in all of my interviews to ask for advice. And so I would love to know, like, what advice would you give to other educators who are considering kind of taking the longer, more flexible route to earning their advanced degree?
I say if you don't think you have time, then this is for you because
Okay. Yeah.
you do have the time. You can find ways. The schedule is um just the right amount of rigor
Hmm.
to help you. And especially once you take the first course, you're like, oh, okay, I got
Yeah.
this. Then can I take more than one class at a time? Is
Hmm.
there time? Is summer when I need to just really focus, and then during the school year, I'm going to not push. I one of the students that I took the is it Master in Teaching before you take capstone research?
Right. Yep.
Yes. I was in a group with some students who decided, yeah, I'm going to finish the school year before I do the capstone. So they had a break. I felt I could manage just pushing through and I had enough support to do that. So I think it's 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 the flexible route gives you it's in its own advantage.
Hmm.
And I think that if you think of it also, if you're still on the fence, it's a sacrifice for you and your future and the many little artists that will be needing you in the future.
Oh, I love that. That's really really well said. Cool. All right, well, Ricky, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate you kind of telling your story, offering up some advice for people. It's been great to talk to you. So thank you.
Yes, thank you too.
All right. Thank you to Riki. I really enjoyed that conversation. Okay, we also want to talk to Mary today as well. Now, after hearing Riki's perspective on that sort of long, steady path through her master's degree, I wanted to also hear about the other side of the experience. What is it like to move quickly through the Master of Arts in Art Education program, to dive in completely and see those results right away? And that's where this conversation with Mary Donlon comes in. Her shorter, more concentrated journey offers what I would say is a unique view of how fast professional learning can translate into changes in your classroom. So let's hear from Mary now. Mary Donlon is joining me now. Mary, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing great also. I'm excited to talk to you today. To kind of begin everything, can you give us an introduction? Just tell us who you are, where you teach, whatever else you may want to share.
Sure. My name is Mary Donlon. I live in Arlington Heights, Illinois, and I teach in Barrington District 220. I teach K through 8, so I teach in the mornings over at Station Middle School, an advanced middle school art class that they actually have to apply to be in. That's sixth
Oh,
through eighth
cool.
grade.
Yeah.
And then in the afternoons, I'm over at Huff Street Elementary, and that is kindergarten through fifth grade. And then, yes, I graduated from the University of Illinois in 2021. And so I'm now in my fourth year ever of teaching, and I actually just got tenured, which is very exciting.
Well, congratulations on that. That's very
Thank
cool.
you.
Um,
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, I wanted to ask you about the master's degree and moving through it kind of quickly, I guess. So, I guess the question is like, first of all, what motivated you to pursue the master's degree? And then, secondly, like, what led you to go through the timeline so quickly?
Definitely. Well, part of the way, well, firstly, how I discovered AOEU was actually through my coworkers. So, because I work in a unit district, I get to meet with all of the district art teachers once a month. And I had two coworkers who had previously gotten their master's through the program, and they had told my coworkers and I about it. And I thought this is a really awesome opportunity. And I knew I wanted to pursue my master's, A, because I mean, it's very nice to get a pay bump. And so I
Yes.
definitely wanted to get a move on that. But also, too, because I graduated in 2021, most of my student teaching experience was actually during COVID. And so
Oh,
I
yeah.
felt like I missed out on a lot of instruction that I would have gotten in any previous years, specifically in the instructional strategies and classroom management. I
Right.
felt like I was really lacking, and I felt like I was kind of giving the short end of the stick to my students because of sort of my experience that I did not gain from student teaching. And so that was a really big thing that I wanted to pursue. And also, too, I find I did not give myself enough time to express myself, take other art classes, and I was really sort of craving that creative space. And so that was
Mm,
another reason of it, too. I took a lot of studio courses, and that was really, really awesome. And so, yeah, and the reason why I chose to move so quickly through the degree is right now, this point in my life, I have really no dependents. I'm still living at home. I felt like I needed to strike the iron while it was hot. And I had all of my coworkers tell me, don't wait, get it
yeah.
done, get it over with. And not to say that it wasn't something that was like a slog. Like I really wanted to do it, but they were saying, do it now while you still sort of have that time in your life.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the main reasons why I went so quickly through the degree.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I want to ask you though about trying to fit all this in because balancing teaching along with doing coursework, especially if you're doing multiple courses at one time, like that's a
Mm-hmm.
challenge. And so,
Yes.
I'm curious, like, did you have any strategies or routines that you came up with that kind of helped you manage moving at a fast pace, but also still, continuing to be there in your classroom, continuing to show up for your students?
Definitely. I did make most of my summers. So when I first started the program, I started in the summer of 2023, and I
Mm-hmm.
actually took 2 classes at the same time, just because I knew I had the time.
Right.
And I was teaching summer school, but that was only from 8 to noon. It wasn't a long day. And I knew I had that time. So I figured while I have the time, let's try to get the bulk of it done. I did, when I first started, take 2 studio courses at the same time. I did my fibers course and I did painting. I did those 2 at the
Okay.
same time. And I found that to be a little too much. It was an
Yeah.
amazing experience, but I found it was a much more balanced approach if you do more of a writing focused course and then a studio focused course if you choose to do 2 at the same time. So that was one way how I got through this program rather quickly. And then, yeah, with the balancing, definitely giving yourself time set aside. One thing I found that helped me a lot, because I find as soon as I get home, I will park my butt on a couch
Yeah.
and not get up, or I do anything else except do schoolwork or sit in front of a computer. And so I found that going to some of those, I think the term is called a third space,
Yeah.
where, yes, I found those third spaces in my community. So I would go to a coffee shop, or I would go to a brewery, or I would go to a library right after school, just for an hour or so, just to give myself time put aside so I could really focus in on the work. Because leaving it all to the very last minute, and trust me, I've been there at some points in time, but I was definitely not happy with myself when I did that. But giving yourself an hour each day to just get to focus up on the work helps immensely, not leaving it all to the last minute. So, and starting your day on Sunday, looking at what's ahead. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's kind of how I was able to space everything out. And that's what really helped me to be successful.
Oh, that's really good advice. I like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of that. Okay, so can we circle back around, I guess, to the idea, like you said, you felt like you were lacking when it comes to classroom management and
Mm-hmm.
instructional strategies and all that. So as you've completed your degree, can you talk about how that's kind of impacted your teaching practice or even just your confidence level in your classroom? Like how has it benefited you as an educator?
I would say the biggest thing, and I was really thinking on this, one of the kind of the there's peaks and pits in life, right? And one of the pits of
Hmm.
being an art teacher is that it feels like our practice is always being questioned, and it's always being
Yes.
asked, why is this relevant, especially in a
Yes.
public school setting. And this program helped me become all the more informed,
Hmm.
and it helped me if I ever did get questioned about whether or not art in the school setting is valid, I was able to give examples A through Z as to why that is important. And so it helped me, because being informed, it really benefits you as a teacher. And so that helped me a lot. And also, too, one thing that this program helped me think through and reflect on was really centering my students when it came to making decisions for
Hmm.
curriculum and anything like that. Because when you're first out of college, like, I think back on when I was 22, bright and shiny new teacher, I felt very, I'm thinking back on how I was as a teacher, and it was very much like, well, I have all these new things that I need to share with you kids. And so these are the things that we're going to do, and you're
Right.
going to learn it, and you're going to be excited, and that's it. But I thought to myself, well, okay, that's what I like, and that's what I think is valuable. And AOEU really taught me to reflect and gain feedback from students, and getting that feedback did really help me in my engagement with my students. Part of actually my thesis, my whole thesis was incorporating contemporary art with upper elementary students and using their interests at the forefront to increase engagement. It helped me out immensely. I had this one lesson, it was based off of Kehinde Wiley, and they were doing what were called power portraits. So they were making portraits of themselves and representing themselves and when they feel most powerful. And I decided, because it kind of ended up being a lesson that the kids weren't really excited about, but then I realized, well, they're very excited about technology. They love using their iPads, and instead of, not having them bring the iPads in because sometimes it can be a distraction, let's use this to our advantage. And so we did a lesson using pic collage, and they made artwork, and they were able to take photos and put themselves, like crop themselves into into their artwork. And that was very exciting. So that was the one thing AOEU really taught me, was centering students, and then also being able to advocate for yourself when it came to if you were ever questioned about your practice.
Oh, very cool. All right. Just one last question for you. I love to end all of my interviews with the opportunity for people to give advice. So, what advice would you give to other art teachers who are considering a master's program, especially those teachers who are thinking about kind of taking the fast track, trying to get their degree done quickly?
Definitely. Well, firstly, look and see if your district will help cover part of it. That was another huge reason why I decided to go into this program, because I'm very grateful my district was able to pay for a good amount of it. And so that really kind of gave me that final push to get started. And really utilize your summers. That truly helped me get through this very quickly, using that time. And even though it is really nice to give yourself a break and enjoy your summers, especially since you're working all year, it is so rewarding to be able to take those classes. And then, like, now this summer, I'm completely free. I'm done. I was able to finish. If I had not done courses in the summer, last summer, I would have been graduating in August, and I graduated in March. So it was a huge difference. So use those summers and really develop a habit of working at things a little at a time. I'm a huge procrastinator, and this was definitely a challenge in making sure that I gave myself time to get the work done. So if you are a procrastinator, definitely regiment and give yourself an hour each day to chip away at the work, because otherwise it will pile up and you will have a little bit of a breakdown. Definitely not speaking from experience at all. I don't know what that's all about. That was just totally random, but yes, give yourself time each day to work at it, especially if you are trying to do the fast track, because it can pile up. But yes, so I would say that is my advice.
All right, that sounds great. So we'll go ahead and wrap it up there, Mary. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for all of the advice. We appreciate hearing from you, and we appreciate everything you have to offer. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
I think what's clear from both conversations is that the Master of Arts in Art Education at AOEU is more than just a degree. And when we look at both perspectives, you can see that. For Riki, the program unfolded over years. It's gradually shaping her teaching and allowing her to experiment and refine what she's doing along the way. And for Mary, the quicker pace meant that those new ideas and practices could immediately transform what she's doing with her students. Both of those paths are valid, and both show how that master's degree can empower you to grow in ways that are meaningful for you, what you're doing in your classroom, and how you're helping your students. And I want to thank both Riki and Mary for sharing their perspective and their experiences there. Because I think that their stories remind us that earning a master's degree is not just about checking a box. It's about transforming what you do as a teacher. Riki found new ways to challenge her high school students. Mary is gaining fresh strategies to inspire her younger learners. And going through the degree program gave them the tools and the confidence and that sense of purpose that you need in the classroom. And I think that's what's at the heart of AOEU's Master's of Arts in Art Education. It's designed to meet teachers where they are and help them grow into who they want to become. So if you've thought about getting that master's degree, about taking that next step, now is a great time to do that. And if you want to learn more about the Master of Arts in Art Education, learn more about AOEU and how it can fit into your teaching journey, whether you're doing that long-term investment like Riki or a quicker, more immersive experience like Mary, you can reach out to your admissions officer at AOEU and they will walk you through the details, help you find the path that is right for you, right for your classroom, and right for your teaching. Art Ed Radio is produced by The Art of Education with audio engineering from Michael Crocker. Thank you for listening to the episode today. Thank you for listening to every episode.